What's going on, guys? This is Seahawks Today. I am Will Ortner, and we got a bunch of breaking news going on the injury front. Going to dive into everything that's happening with Elijah Arroyo. Then we got to look at Jalen Sundell, his injury news, but more importantly, what his return could look like to that Seahawks offensive line. Before we get into any of it, though, I do want to make sure that I let you know about what's going on at that tight end position with Elijah Arroyo. I know that the offensive line, everyone has their takes on Bradford, Olu Oluwatimi, and of course on Sundell. But Arroyo, we need to look at what it could be like in the injury front for tight end number 2. Before we get into any of that, though, of course, make sure that you follow me over on social media at Will Ortner on Twitter and on Instagram. Constantly posting about the Seattle Seahawks, including my takes on who should be the starting offensive lineman at that right guard position, as well as Elijah Arroyo's injury. So make sure that you go and follow me on those sites if you already have them. Now, head coach Mike Macdonald had his presser earlier this week where he talked about what was going on the injury front for the Seahawks. For the most part, Seattle was able to stave off some of those injury issues. Atlanta was a pretty clean game for Seattle, but unfortunately, Arroyo did come down with a knee injury, having to leave the game somewhere in the middle of it. Now, this is coming from Michael Sean Dugar. Elijah Arroyo has a knee injury, and this week's probably in jeopardy for him. So it doesn't look good for the Seahawks and their number 2 tight end. Now, it might shock some people when you look at the stat line for the rookie of how big of an injury this is going to be for the Seahawks. I mean, shoot, he only has 15 receptions. He doesn't even have 200 yards on the season, 1 TD. That can't be that big of a deal, can it? But here's the thing. What Arroyo allows you to do a lot of times is unseen. He's a very good blocker for the Seahawks, and he adds into what Seattle wants to do in this run-first scheme. He's able to block, you're able to go more 12 personnel, and then more of your plays all look the same. Now, if Seattle does decide to go 12 personnel, there could be a multitude of different players that they put into those positions, including potentially giving Robbie Oots a try instead of having him at fullback, maybe have him at tight end a little bit. Now, I think that losing Arroyo for at least a week is going to be a sneaky big deal for Seattle. It changes what their offensive game plan was, and I do believe that Arroyo was really starting to find himself in the passing attack for the Seahawks. If you agree with me, go down below in the comment section and type A. If you disagree with me, go into the comment section and type D. Let me know, is Arroyo being lost a sneaky big deal? Now, let's talk about the offensive line because many Seahawk fans know that Jaylen Sundell, well, it looks like it's time for him to come back off the IR where he's been for the last couple of weeks after suffering an injury early on this season. Now, this comes to us from Hawk blogger. Coach Mike Macdonald says that he expects Jalen Sundell to practice. Now, I think this last part is important, and it's got a lot of Seahawk fans doing the windy meme. What could this possibly mean? He was asked where he was going to play, center or guard, because Sundell was originally the starting center for the Seahawks, and he smiled, and he said, "We will see." Now, when you look at what Sundell has done for the Seahawks this season, he's been pretty darn good coming out of North Dakota State, joining his fellow Bison graduate, Gray Zabel. They've worked well together. I felt like Sundell played well in his first 9 games or so as the starting center. He has some issues when it comes to taking guys one-on-one, but in Clint Kubiak's system, where it's largely based on speed and the ability to get linebackers in this long zone scheme system, he ends up actually being fairly decent. He's a player that can also play a multitude of positions, which I think is very important for the Seahawks. Remember, before Sundell went out, there was a conversation that if there was an injury to Zabel or to Bradford, Sundell would simply move out to guard, or he'd move out to that left guard position, and then Olu Oluwatimi would come in to center. So you're going to get a much-needed depth piece back, and you're also going to get a player back that has played pretty darn well this season. So I would expect Seattle to want to get him back on the field as quickly as possible. The question is where do they add him back? Before we get into that answer, though, I got to let you know just how close we are to 77K Help us out. Subscribe to the channel. We're just 520 subscribers away. You know why you want to subscribe? Because we got daily free Seattle Seahawks content that you don't want to miss out on, whether it's news, whether it's rumors, whatever it has for the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to be the first ones to provide it for you. We're going to provide it in a fun and innovative manner. So make sure that you subscribe. Help us get to that 77K. So I already kind of asked this, but I really want you to think about it. Where will Sundell play next? Is he going to plug right back into center? Is he going to plug into right guard? Or, frankly, is he going to lose his spot entirely and now move into that sixth offensive lineman spot? We'll dive into that here in just a moment, but I got to let you know about this sweet deal going on right now at chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. This t-shirt, Emerald City Football, I've been plugging it now for a little bit, but it's because it's so sweet. Holiday season is coming up. It's the perfect gift for that Seahawks fan in your life, whether it's the girl, whether it's the guy, whether it's mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, whoever, grandpa, grandma, maybe even the dog. Whoever wants it, chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. Might even be a sweet gift that you can give to yourself. You're going to be able to wear it for a good chunk of the year because the Seahawks, they seem poised to be going on a run. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. One last time for the people who are hard of hearing. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. That's where you can get that deal. Now, most fans immediately thought that Sundell will come in and replace Bradford. In fact, I kind of believe that Sundell could come in and replace Bradford. It would make sense. He's a little bit slimmer than Anthony Bradford. He's able to get on the move more than Anthony Bradford. He's a faster player. He fits more into this scheme. And I'm not the only person or people that thought this. When you look at what John Boyle and Ari Horton have to say, they're great writers over at Seahawks.com. Macdonald has praised the play of Olu Oluwatimi in Sundell's absence. That's important to note as well because why would you take someone out who's been playing good? And it's important to remember that Sundell competed at right guard in camp before settling in at center while Olu Oluwatimi was sidelined with an injury, giving the Seahawks some options with how they want to configure their line when he is back. Seems like a super easy switch, right? He was already a guard. He had to go into center because of the injury issues that they had with Oluwatimi. Now that Oluwatimi's back, he's playing incredibly well. Mike Macdonald has gone out of his way to make sure that he highlights how well he's been playing. It's pretty self-explanatory that Sundell should instantly go into that guard spot or at least fight through in a iron sharpens iron type of way to help kind of make Olu better before he bounces over to that guard spot. But then Mike Macdonald had this to say, and I think it's important, and it might read through the tea leaves of where he's at. He said that Anthony Bradford graded out as our highest offensive lineman yesterday. So Anthony Bradford's playing pretty darn well too, and yes, he struggled against the Minnesota Vikings. Bradford didn't really struggle against the Atlanta Falcons, and you saw this run game improve. When you look at the starting offensive line right now for the Seahawks, I've plugged in Sundell as the backup center. I think there is a world where Seattle sticks with this offensive line. Now, don't get me wrong. The Minnesota Vikings game was a slog. It did not look the way that it probably should have. But the Falcons game did look the way that it should have in the second. It was very clear that Bradford was doing well in the run game. And it's also important to know, yes, Anthony Bradford has some bad plays, but it is very clear that this offensive coaching staff believes in him and they like where he's at. They've even said that he has some of the best confidence that he's ever had in his entire career. So why would they want to mess with that? I don't really know. It feels like, and maybe I'm wrong, that we might see this stay the exact same, the O-line that is. Now, I want to ask you before I give you my full take, who do you think should start at that right guard spot? Should it be Jaylen Sundell? Type JS down below in the comment section. Should it be Anthony Bradford? Type AB down below in the comment section. Whatever you do, say it with your chest. Let me know who should be that starting right guard. I personally think that no matter what happens, this is good for the Seahawks. Yep, that's right. Willie's sitting on the fence again. And that happens sometimes here on Seahawks Today because, well, I love the Seahawks and I want the Seahawks to win as many football games as possible. And the best way for them to do that is to have those three guys, Olu Oluwatimi, Sundell, and Bradford, duke it out. Iron sharpens iron. If you are constantly pushing yourself to be the best player that you possibly can be, you are going to reach heights that you didn't know you possibly could. These types of athletes thrive in those competitive environments where you're constantly fighting, scratching, clawing, earning everything that you are given. I think that this is the perfect situation for Sundell, Oluwatimi, and Bradford, and it's the situation that Macdonald wants to build. He wants the Seahawks to earn their roles, feel like they can never be complacent, because that's going to lead to the team getting better and better and better. While I don't know who's going to be that starting right guard or that starting center, I do know that if all three of those guys are healthy, the best two will play, and that will be what's most important for the Seahawks. Like I said earlier, make sure that you follow me over on X or on Instagram at Will Ortner. I've got content coming out every single day on the Seattle Seahawks that you do not want to miss. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.